Welcome back, friends. You're just in time for the Johnny Brew Show.
What's going on, everybody? My name is John Brookhagen, host of the Johnny Brew Show, and welcome to yet another awesome interview here on the Johnny Brew Show as we continue to work to turning Nevada red in 2022. All right, I know last night you got to hear all from Stan Hite. He's going to be running for sheriff, great constitutional conservative. We have our current councilman and running for lieutenant governor, Stavros Anthony. He was on this morning. And now, Sunday night, we're really excited to talk about some down ballot candidates because we're all starting to realize that it's not only about the governor and the president, the school board, the assembly, the city council. All these things really do have a major effect on our lives and, you know, how we live our lives on the day-to-day. People who know will tell you that all politics is local. So, with that in mind, I'd like to introduce my next guest. He's running for Assembly District 3, which is up north, kind of like by the Santa Fe station and right down that I-95 corridor. And his name is Joshua Lemack, and he is running for Assembly District 3. Welcome, Josh. How are you?
Thank you. Great being here.
Good. And I know you're running against a Democrat, Selena Torres. And she's accused of being a socialist and a teacher. I know one of those is true.
She is a teacher, and you know, I don't hate on teachers. She's props to her for being a
socialists?
teacher. I do hate on socialists.
Well, I mean, first of all, let's find out a little bit about you. I heard you're from back east, New England. Where are you from?
Correct. Born and raised New England. Born in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Lowell, Massachusetts. You a Red Sox fan?
I am a huge Red Sox fan.
She's a socialist. All right. I'll take a Red Sox fan over a socialist. All right. Let's get over that speed bump real quick. So tell me, what was growing up in Massachusetts like?
Well, actually, I mostly grew up in New Hampshire. Went to high school in Manchester, New Hampshire. And as I said, huge baseball fan. I'd go to a couple Red Sox games every year. My mom would take me down there, or my uncle. And good family outing. So,
snowboarding or skiing up there?
A little bit. I used to ski as a kid as well.
It's fun times?
Yep. Definitely not as much skiing here in southern Nevada, but...
Right. And you look pretty young. How old are you?
36.
30. So you are young. Oh, my gosh, man. Jeez. So that means you were... and you were going to high school in New Hampshire?
Yep. Manchester, New Hampshire.
And that's in the late 90s?
2004 I graduated.
Jeez. I'm feeling older and older by the minute.
Well, my opponent's only 27, so...
Really? So you're going to be the elder statesman, the voice
that
of
is
reason.
Correct.
All right. And then, so what happened? You went to high school in New Hampshire, and then you went to college?
Yes, I went to McIntosh College in Dover, New Hampshire. Small
right.
school. It actually doesn't even exist anymore.
Right. What did you study?
Criminal justice. Got an associate's degree.
Were you thinking about becoming a cop or something?
I was thinking about it, and then a Marine Corps recruiter called me up one day, and...
You look like a Marine. A jughead, right?
Jarhead, yeah.
You're jarhead. There you go. All right. No offense. I'm sure you could beat me up.
Leather neck.
Right. And you look like you got it. You look like a Marine, man. So you went into the Marines when you were 18, 19 years old?
20.
20.
Yep.
After college. You went to college a little bit.
Yep.
And what was the Marines like? Why'd you pick the Marines?
They're the best.
You knew that before you joined?
Right. You know, the Army recruiters like, I'll give you a bonus. Air Force, I'll give you a bonus. The Marine Corps was like, well, we can make you a Marine. I'm like, that's it. They're like, that's all we need to offer you.
Wonderful.
Like,
And how long were you in the Marines?
I did 4 years, 2006 to 2010. Exciting experience. Went to Iraq. I went to Eastern Africa, Djibouti. Most people haven't heard of Djibouti. It's just north of Somalia.
I heard it. You got a big Djibouti. But so you got to see the world. Did you see any action?
Not really. I mean, I guess I've seen some things, but no actual combat.
Right.
So, lucky enough.
And you spent 4 years there. And when you returned from the Marines, where did you relocate to?
I stayed in the Oceanside Vista area of California, just south of Camp Pendleton.
All right.
Beautiful area.
And that's down by Mexico. San Diego.
45, 50 minutes from Mexico. Yeah, San
So it's
Diego.
south of LA, but north of San Diego?
Correct.
Gotcha.
About
gotcha.
20 to 30 minutes north of San Diego.
Gotcha. And so you started life there?
Yeah. Unfortunately, taxes started getting high. Price of living kept getting high. And, I was working construction. I worked for Shea Homes, which they actually have a location out here in Las Vegas as well.
Right.
Great new construction builder. And I joined the National Guard as well.
So you're a retired Marine. Are you still in the National Guard?
I am. The
Beautiful.
Nevada National Guard over on Nellis Air Force Base.
And that's once a month?
Once a month, 2 weeks a year. Great training.
Keeps you in shape?
It does. I probably need to run a little bit more right now. But
You got to sit up straight when you're in these chairs sometimes. And then I guess you went from construction into becoming a realtor.
correct.
Well, I mean, you went from jarhead and swinging a hammer to wearing a suit.
Exactly.
How'd that transition work out for you?
Not too bad. So I have a lot of family in California. My cousin does real estate. Another cousin does real estate. And I joined their team in California, got my California license. I still have. Then I got my Nevada license, which I haven't done much with the Nevada license yet, but I'm hoping to do a little bit more in the coming year.
Yeah, I've been doing some research. I see a lot of, when you just type your name generically without the for assembly, you come up with a lot of realty websites and stuff like that, more so in San Diego than Nevada.
Right.
But are you trying to expand here in Nevada? Are you living here in Nevada full time?
I'm living here full time. I would like to expand in the next year or two. Obviously, my sphere of influence needs to expand a little bit more.
Well, I'm about to introduce you to 400 people.
All right.
So you can introduce yourself. And are you still working in San Diego?
Part-time.
Part-time, just to pay the bills?
Right. If I have a friend that's looking for a house, I'll drive out there, show them some houses.
So when did you come out to Nevada?
October 2020.
2020, October 20. So just before this past election.
Right.
And now you want to jump into politics.
I do.
So we're going Marines to construction to realty to let me run for office. What makes you want to run for office?
This is my home, and I don't want it to turn into California.
All right, that's a pretty succinct answer. Would you like to expand on that a little? Thanks for listening to the Johnny Brew Show. Don't California, you're in Nevada. Vote for Josh Lemack. Lemack. Sorry, I want to say it enough times so I get it right. But, I mean, you're brand new to Nevada. You don't really know anybody, and you just go down to the office and say, hey, I want to run for office. Why did you pick the assembly as opposed to a council or a commission? Tell us a little bit about the evolution of you becoming a candidate.
I've always wanted to run. I've been thinking about it for 10 years, and, there's never seems to be a good time to run.
Right.
So I figured, why not now? No time's ever going to be perfect.
Why in Nevada and not San Diego?
Well, I moved to Nevada. I plan on calling this home.
So might as well put down some roots.
Right.
All right. And what is it exactly? For example, you're running against Selena Torres. What is it that she's doing that you would like to improve upon?
Big thing is business. As a business owner, realtor, I'm also an Uber driver, which needs a business license as well. Democrats, not just her, all Democrats, shut down businesses, mask mandates. It's not helping the business here in Nevada. I know people that have not come to Las Vegas and have chosen to go to Texas, Florida. Florida seems to be a big destination right now with no restrictions because they don't need a mask. There's no restrictions to where they can go, sit down.
Right. And you're talking about everything from little stuff to as big as the rodeo. We could go to Texas and we could lose it over ridiculous mandates. Continue. What else is she doing? Or what? Forget about her. What would you like to do?
Well, first thing if elected, I'd like to start implementing voter ID and election integrity laws. So I think the easiest place to start would be getting rid of the mandatory mail-in voting that we have. I hate mail-in voting. I like to go to the poll,
Right.
fill in my candidates.
On election day. Show them your ID, get a machine, pull the lever.
Right. And it's funny because, they legalize cannabis here in Nevada. And the one thing you need to get cannabis, an ID. You go to the bar, they're going to ask you for an ID.
Gamble?
ID.
Airport?
ID.
Alcohol?
ID, exactly.
Voting?
No.
Well, I mean, is voting that important?
I think so.
Maybe it is.
I think local politics are even more important than the presidential election.
Right.
And you can even see that with states like Florida and Texas, even Arizona. You know,
Right.
I had about a week off from work. I decided to go down to Flagstaff because I didn't need a mask to go down there.
Right.
It was 100% open.
Well, how do you feel about stuff like this? Like, for example, do you wear masks when you go into businesses? What's your stance on the mask mandates, or picking and choosing winners, whether you're talking about Home Depot being allowed to open but True Value Hardware is not allowed to open, or you talk about Walmart's allowed to sell liquor but the liquor store isn't allowed to sell anything?
I don't think people should comply with the mask mandate. I try not to comply. I kind of get hospitals and medical facilities to an extent.
Right.
But, there's a reason I go to certain businesses, go out of the way to go to certain businesses that don't enforce mandates. I got kicked out of Costco, actually, a couple months ago because I refused to wear a mask. They called security and escorted me out. I lost my membership.
You lost your membership. You got kicked out of the Costco club?
Yeah.
That's
I'm Sam's
horrible.
Club now.
There you found someone else, right? And that's the beautiful thing when you have options.
Right.
Whether you're talking about education or you're talking about grocery shopping, right?
Yep.
And so you say you shouldn't comply. How do you feel like, say you go into a dry cleaner and the dry cleaner doesn't believe in masks either, but they're afraid that our governor could be implementing fines and stuff? I mean, how do you balance out the sympathy for the shop owner with your staunch stance on the fact that masks don't work and they shouldn't be mandated?
I have no problem if a business wants to have their employees actually wear it, if they're a private business. I don't see a point in having the customers, though.
Right. Well, I don't see a point in having the employees either.
Right.
I mean, it's even sillier if the customers aren't wearing them, and now all of a sudden they look like faceless servants.
And you got a little plexiglass thing, but you have to, go around and swipe your card right in front of them, and you're face to face.
I think we just saw the same video this morning. I saw the same video. The guy was trying to give the girl a thing, and she's like, stand over here. And he goes, well, why do we have the plexiglass if you want me to stand over here to talk to you?
That's the video I saw, yes.
Yeah, I just saw it this morning. That's pretty funny. So I know exactly what you're referring to. And then you even mentioned the fact that, you're doing realty, you're in the National Guard, you're even driving an Uber. I've always said that, we don't want the regular guy or a friend to be in office because it's a different thing to be talking politics at the bar, and it's a different thing to have somebody capable and able to do it. But at the same time, if we're able to find somebody capable and regular that is able to fulfill the job and has the real life experience, I don't think that, Harry Reid, before he just died, was driving around an Uber in order to make ends meet. So do you think that that's an advantage, that you have this, the pulse of the everyday person? And what about your inexperience? Is that something that you're concerned about?
Well, everybody's got to start somewhere, even Donald Trump, started fresh in politics, and he went right for the
the big time.
Yes. So
you're not running for president?
No,
not yet. In the plans?
I don't know about president, but
we'll start with assembly.
We'll start with assembly, and we'll see where it goes from there.
So, so you've tried new things. You joined the Marines, and you had to do boot camp. You moved to San Diego. You had to try construction. You had to try realty. What is it that you've been learning about a position with assembly that what would your responsibilities entail, and how do you think you would fit in that?
Well, the responsibility would be to the representatives in my district, and I've actually been visiting businesses in my district, talking to business owners, seeing what their concerns are. And I would also like to say one thing. When I've talked to these business owners, they've never had a representative or a person running for office even stop at their business to question what is a concern to them.
And that's huge, because people really don't feel like their voices are being heard anymore when you're talking about almost anything involving the government of late, since the pandemic has hit. And what do those business owners say their biggest concerns are?
Their biggest concern is the licensing system in the state of Nevada. Now, you need a Clark County business license, you need a state business license. Now, if you're selling liquor, beer, or whatever it may be, you
need your specialty license.
You need specialty licenses. The problem is there's different places you need to go to get these licenses.
Right.
Clark County, you need to go to a certain website. Nevada, you need to go to a certain website. And nothing is in one place, and they're all due at separate times of year.
And if you live across the street, you're in Las Vegas. If you live over here, you're in Clark County. And it's really hard
North Vegas and Henderson.
Zoning, yada, 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 is always a nightmare. And with all due respect, me personally, I've had the experience of they don't send you a bill. They only send you a late fee.
Yeah.
So, when the first few years of my business, I didn't realize that my bill was due at the end of November. Until at the end of December, they sent me a bill that was twice as much with the late fee. And I even said, why didn't you just send me the bill the first time instead of the late fee, and I would have sent you the check.
Right.
Oh, we don't do that. You're responsible to know when your business license expires.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to make a clearinghouse system, though, to simplify that whole process.
Right, so you could one-stop shop.
Right.
All right, I'm going to open a business. All right, here you're in this county or this jurisdiction. Here's your Las Vegas license. Here's your Clark County license. Here's your Nevada license.
This is what's required.
Right.
You have until this date to pay it.
And it'll be 500, 150, 150, and 200.
Right. And then it'll be due, let's just say October.
Right.
You've got till October 31st next year to pay it.
That would be nice. What are some of the other concerns that people are expressing?
Businesses also are expressing concerns on homelessness.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a growing problem. And as crime rises, the homelessness problem gets exacerbated because every time there's a murder or a rape, we're going to investigate it. Mm-hmm. So, if there's more murders and rapes, there's less people doing the graffiti and the homelessness and the stop sign tickets and stuff like that. So what do you think we can do to help curtail the homeless situation?
I'd like to work with the police departments and the medical industry, and I've also been told by medical professionals that I've spoken with that when a homeless person goes into custody or is detained for a little bit, they only get detained for 72 hours to get help.
Right.
And the problem is medicines usually take about 10 days to start taking effect to help the individual.
Right.
So we put them right back out on the street after 3 days. You're not solving the problem.
Right.
You're not actually helping them.
You sound like a previous Johnny Brew Show guest. Dr. Fred Simon was alluding to some of this stuff. I don't know if you've ever met him, but he says very similar things, that if we're going to put homeless people on a hold, we need to give them a chance to A, dry out, and B, let the medicines take effect.
Right.
Because if the medicine doesn't take effect after 3 days, they're not going to keep taking it the next 4 to even find out if it's something that might make them think more clearly or be less spontaneous or violent or whatever the case may be, whatever their shortcoming may be. And but up there, regarding the homeless situation, people are constantly trying to fix homelessness by making homelessness easier. They want to fix crime by making crime easier. What do you think you can do besides holding them beyond the 72 hours? How else can we curtail the homeless situation in a way that, some of the homeless are veterans, some of the homeless are mentally ill, some of the homeless are lazy. There's such a wide swath of different reasons people become homeless. How can we address it from more than just more than a 72-hour hold for the mentally ill?
Giving incentives to private organizations to help. I mean, obviously, it's great that the government's trying to help, but it's also scary when the government says, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. So giving incentives to private businesses to help the homeless get jobs, even if it's something, McDonald's or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You're getting them on their feet.
I believe personally that right now is the time to implement these programs.
Yep.
I mean, if we could get some homeless people who are not severely mentally ill or criminals, but people who are down on their luck or had a rough time with this recession, right now is the time to put some lipstick on, put a comb through their hair, and get them into, because every time you go to a restaurant or a store, they're short-staffed.
Right.
They're looking for help.
Yeah.
And it used to be hard for homeless people to get a job. I believe now is the time that people could get out of homelessness.
Yeah, and I've been to restaurants. They'll say they'll hire you on the spot. KFC on Rancho and think it's Rancho and Craig. It's right around that area.
Right.
There's a KFC, and there's a sign right up front. Please be patient. We're understaffed. If you'd like a job,
We'll hire you on the spot.
Yeah, we'll interview you on the spot at least.
Right.
So.
But that's my whole point, though, is that, now is the opportunity, whether you're a regular person looking to get a better job, now's your opportunity. And if you're a homeless person or you've been down on your luck, everybody's hiring. And you could do what you want to do, whether it's an office or work with people or work with your hands and do construction.
Right. And I mean, it's more than that, too. We need to give them a place where they can lay their head at night. I mean, they need a foundation as well.
Right.
So
now you also understand the assembly is a supermajority of Democrats.
Correct.
So you very well could go in there and be sitting there by yourself at the loser table in the cafeteria. I mean, how do you feel about that? What can we do if you're such a minority in the assembly?
Well, I feel Annie Black's made a big difference in the assembly, made her voice heard.
She has.
And, I'm also willing to work with Democrats if the bill makes sense. And I know a lot of Democrats are for helping the homeless, but let's talk about it. Let's have
Again,
more
don't
options.
make it easier to be homeless in order to fight homelessness.
Right. Correct.
I like that. And then also now you talk about, you're willing to speak with Democrats and you're new to this game and stuff like that. And I have to ask every guest, there's a lot of infighting here in Clark County among the Republican Party. Have you witnessed any of that, and how has that affected your emergence into the political landscape?
Well, when I first joined the GOP here in Nevada, I heard about the split difference. Was it Senator Carrie Buck?
Yes.
Yep.
She's in one faction, and then you have Jesse Law with the new faction, for lack of a better term.
Correct. I mean, I've just been careful with who I talk to, and always try to have groups of people around, so there's no he said, she said.
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming more and more clear that you got to be careful who you even take pictures with.
Right.
And I find that a little disconcerting, right? If you go to a Republican event, just because somebody 3 weeks ago called somebody else a rhino, are you supposed to, deny taking a picture with someone?
Right.
It's a little stressful, especially for newbies like us that we don't understand what they're all fighting about. Well, I'm starting to learn as I dig deeper, but, I can understand that you really are just trying to be a Republican assemblyman.
Right. I'm just trying to make a better difference here in Las Vegas and the state of Nevada.
Well, would you consider yourself a constitutional conservative?
I love the Constitution, everything about it, free speech. Don't stop any but even if you disagree with somebody, let them speak it.
All right. And what would your definition of your platform be, or what would you believe a constitutional conservative does?
Individual rights. As I said, freedom of religion, constitutional carry. I don't believe in having to buy your rights back from the government.
Right.
There's 20 plus states right now that have implemented constitutional carry. That's how it should be. And I know the Democrats at one point in Nevada shut down the churches, religious institutions of all kinds. And actually, if you've read the Nevada Constitution,
which is a lot longer than the United States Constitution.
Right. It goes into religion. All religions, you're free to practice, and they shut down they broke the Constitution. So they shut down churches, synagogues.
And that struck a chord with you as well.
Exactly.
So, all right. So we got the COVID and the tyrannical. We got the small businesses. We have and you mentioned election integrity. Are you concerned about winning an election with mass mail-out ballots?
I think that just means we need to actually knock on more doors, talk to the people individually, and if the Democrats are changing the rules, we have to play by their rules and actually aggressively.
I mean, we can't just sit here and say ballot harvesting sucks.
Right.
We have to say, well, I don't like it, but we have to do it now.
Exactly.
So, so are you working on stuff like that, whether you're knocking on doors or you're talking about getting volunteers?
Right. I've knocked on, my entire neighborhood has at least seen my face. So working on other neighborhoods, expanding out, talk to businesses, gyms that are peacefully protesting the mask mandate as well. So.
And I have, do you have his website ready? You want to tell everybody how they could get in touch with you or learn more about you?
Lemack, Lemack, 4 assembly.com. And that's Lemack number 4 assembly.com. And you can donate there, learn more about me, all the issues, and anything you need to know. You can also sign up for more information as well.
Looks good. Good looking guy. You look good in a suit for a jarhead. All right, and just to touch on some other things, what do you think about stuff like diversity quotas and stuff like that regarding, the new, systematic racism and stuff like that? Do you believe in, affirmative action or forcing diversity quotas, or
No.
what do you think? What do you think is the way we should achieve more diversity? People say stuff like the police force should look more like the population, or our politicians should look more like our population. How does stuff like that get ironed out?
Well, I think possibly fixing that would be looking at underprivileged areas and working on the education there. I'm not an expert in education,
Yep.
but
it is the ticket out of low-income situations.
correct.
Very good. What about morally speaking? For example, I ask people, if you believed something should be done, but your constituents thought diametrically opposed to you, would you go on your own morals, or would you do what your constituents ask of you?
I think it would be good to actually talk to them face to face. I think if my opponent actually visited businesses, she'd be more aware. I've probably visited 30, 40 businesses. None of them have seen a single, not even assembly, single representative of any kind go into their establishment. So,
and then when you're talking about crime and police reform, Las Vegas is also one of the biggest surveillance states there is in the whole wide world. We probably have more cameras, per square mile than anywhere else in the world. How do you feel about the balance between public safety and having such a surveillance state, or vaccine passports, or anything like that?
I don't believe in any vaccine passports, first off. As for the police department, we're understaffed, and I know Sheriff Lombardo has implemented a vaccine mandate on new hires, yet we are understaffed by about 25%. I was having a conversation with Stan Height, who you had on the show earlier, and he was telling me there's about 3,000 officers when there should be about 4.
Right.
So why would you put a mandate for a vaccine if you can't even hire enough people?
And who are you hiring? You're hiring 21-year-old young men and women.
Correct.
Who are not really necessarily at risk
Exactly.
of severe disease or death from COVID. Very good. And then the election integrity. What about, Las Vegas, I believe, is a hub for sex trafficking and human trafficking in general. But meanwhile, every study seems to gloss over it and seems to ignore Vegas because they usually go with gross numbers as opposed to per capita. Have you, as regarding what Nevada can do in order to stop this from being a hub? Because obviously we connect everything from Mexico to Los Angeles to the whole Eastern Seaboard.
Correct.
I mean, is this something that you're concerned with? And what do you think that...
I'm absolutely concerned with that. And again, I think it would be increasing the police force, maybe having special units within the police department would be great. That would be something I'd have to work with the governor's office and the state senate to obviously have something implemented on that. I need to probably research that a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, I'm not expecting you to be an expert on every single thing, just, your general opinion. So don't think I'm asking you for the details of what the bill will look like that you're going to propose just yet. But again, being in the assembly, being in a supermajority, being surrounded by Democrats, having the mass mail-in voting and the ballot harvesting, I feel like we've got an uphill battle.
Absolutely.
So I'm really glad you were able to come on and tell us a little bit about yourself. What I would really like you to do is, you got 60 seconds, 100 seconds. Tell the listeners, especially those who live in District 3, up by the Santa Fe and the go-kart track and the Summerlin Rainbow little mini spaghetti bowl. That's your section right there,
west
right?
of Rancho.
So why should they be voting for you?
Well, I'd like to bring back pre-COVID times. No mask mandates, businesses open, jobs, and I'd like to get the police force to show a presence in our community. just driving around, showing that they're there, having them visit with businesses, making sure things are going well, helping the homelessness in our district, not just their district, but Las Vegas in general. And again, you can find more info at Lemack4assembly.com. That's Lemack4assembly.com.
Beautiful. That's awesome. And guys, we've been preaching it, and it's time to practice it, all right? We need to support our down ballot candidates more than we support the top of the ballot candidates, because I'm telling you right now, who knows if it's going to be Dean Heller, Joey Gilbert, Fred Simon. Who knows who's going to end up being the Republican top of the ticket, but we all know whoever it ends up being, we're probably going to vote for them. What's most important is that we backfill everything from the county commission, the assembly, the state senate, the school board, yada, yada, yada. So first of all, I really wanted to thank you for running down ticket, not trying to be Trump and run for POTUS on your first go around. And we wish you success, and we hope we help get your message out.
All right. Appreciate your time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And guys, as we continue to get closer to November 2022, you're going to want to subscribe, you want to like, and you want to tell a friend, because we're going to be vetting all the candidates, letting you get to know them personally, not just a 5-minute soundbite or a 2-paragraph essay written in the local newspaper. Get to know your candidates, find out which one is right for you, and register as a Republican so we could vote in the primary in June. We'll get the right Republican, so that way we could feel good about our decision come November 22, where we turn Nevada red. God willing. My name is John Brookhagen. Thank you so much for watching, and we will get you next week here on The Johnny Brew Show.